Hi, this is Robert from Part Fusion. I picked up a couple of these action cameras for use for getting alternative angles and for time-lapse type filming. It's in a kind of GoPro compatible form factor. One of the nice features, it's like 1080p, 30 frames a second. It can also do kind of 4K, but not at only like 20 frames a second, but I'm not really interested in 4K. One of the nice features about it in comparison to the GoPro is it has a standard camera mount. So that's a 1/4 inch 20 turn camera mount. So you can use just, there's like a ball mount that can be screwed in. These were kind of very cheap. I was able to get these for $60 while I was in the US. So I got a couple of them. So my plan is to look at doing some modifications, maybe trying out different lenses, maybe trying to fit, it only has an internal microphone, maybe fitting an external microphone. Maybe there's some sort of remote control type features that could be set up. But one issue that I've kind of noticed with them, it's one complaint, is the SD card is here in the bottom. So if you have it fit a mount, like the ball mount, you have to unmount it and then take out the SD card to be able to copy the images or the movie files off. So what I've been looking at doing is come up with a design for a mount that allows me to open up the battery compartment and get access to the SD card that's here in the bottom. So on my last trip to the US, I went to Home Depot and picked up a range of different connectors, nuts and bolts in the 1/4 20 form factor. So one of the options that I had is I got this kind of brass bolt, and I can screw that in, and I can kind of mount a camera that way. I can put different kind of nuts on to kind of help lock it and hold it in position. These could be glued or clamped. But while I was at it, I was thinking about kind of having a standardized kind of quick release setup. So that as I got these around Christmas time, so I've been sitting on them for a while. So one of the options, the best option I found, was to go with this Arca-Swiss style of quick release camera mount. So it's got a plate here, and you unscrew here, and there's little like dovetail points that clamp into. So you can slide it in and then clamp it in. I got a few different types and different sizes. So these are from AliExpress. You can get similar ones on Amazon and stuff. So my thought is to somehow attach an extension to this, so that you would have the camera screwed in that way, and then this attached somewhere here, and this then would be able to flip down. So you could 3D print something. I'm not sure of how strong your standard kind of filament 3D printers are. They have a kind of natural weakness. So I was kind of thinking I might do something with maybe resin or epoxy putty type of things. I've done a little bit of sketching, but what I'm going to go through the process is of my approximate idea here is to have a plastic 3D printed or resin piece that would fit onto the bottom here, have a plate, or not a plate, but it's wide enough to kind of rest, so you're not putting all of the weight directly onto the metal nut that's embedded in the case that is slightly spread out like a foot, and then actually integrate the Arca-Swiss style plate in kind of a one-piece plastic, as a plastic or resin. So what I'm going to do now is take some notes on the dimensions, and then I'm actually going to, I would use CAD or something, but I thought it might be interesting just to do a bit of kind of pen and paper or pencil and paper technical drawing to sketch out my design, and then maybe later on I'll import that into a CAD program and generate a 3D model. So if I get the dimensions, so it's a Arca-Swiss style plate, has an approximate dimensions. There's some in different dimensions between the different plates that I picked up, but the shape is approximately like this. That's a 45-degree angle. So I hope you can see that. So this dimension here is 38 millimeters. These points here to here are about 42. And this depth on the ones I have were all about, this depth here is about 5 millimeters. And that was 45 degrees. So that would be the plate. And then if we kind of draw a center line, if we look at the camera, so that camera would mount somewhere on that center line. So I think the first dimension to take would be to measure this, kind of how far this swings out. So that there is about 42 and a bit, so if we say 43 millimeters. So I have a kind of a choice of a few different kind of Allen key nuts, different diameters. So as I said, the diameter of the quarter 20 nut is 6.35 millimeters. So there needs to be a kind of a hole that goes through. You know, you might make that a little bigger. It might need 6.5 millimeters. You just drill it, or have it 3D printed with the you know, slightly bigger, so the bolt can get in and out. The depth of going in here seems to be about 6 millimeters, so it's going to go about 6 millimeters into your camera. So if we just draw the camera that way, it's going to go off that way somehow. And if I measure this when it's screwed in tight, it's a little under 8 millimeters, but I tried a few different devices, one of the other action cams I have, and it was slightly different, so I think I'd probably want to make that, the bolt, about 9 millimeters. And then if we look at the bottom, between the center of the nut, I guess, there to the edge of where the hinge goes is about 7 millimeters. And then between the hole to the outside case is 12 or 13. Let's just go with 13. So they're kind of the rough dimensions. And if we look down on from the top, from the hole to the front face, we have, make that 11. So kind of like in the plan view. It's 11. And then front to back, or sorry, for the bolt to the back is probably 10. So one other feature I was thinking about is if you're going to mount it that way, you only have a small footing on this side, so it might be worth having a bit of bringing some of the material. So this would basically be a rectangle that's extruded up this way, having some sort of wedge or fillet that would kind of, I'd probably better when I draw it out on paper, that so our body kind of goes like that, and then up towards the corner we would do a little bit of an angle thing, so just kind of support the weight of the, so we're holding it this way, so something that's kind of lifting this side, pushing this side up a bit, or at least slightly supporting it that way. So we'd need to kind of roughly measure where the door hinge is from the center point. So the door opening is 15 millimeters. 15 millimeters, and it's pretty much centered. So 7.5. So we can just work out the calculations. There's about 3 millimeters here and 2 millimeters to there. So I've set up a basic board here. So this is just a cutting pad. I've attached a piece of MDF here with a straight edge to work as my drawing board. I have my secondary school T-square. So this is the one I used to use for when I did all my drawings in secondary school. I need a 45-degree set square pencil. I have a compass and eraser if I need those. I'll probably do this as a time lapse, or sorry, not as time lapse, but I'll speed it up because it won't take that long. But just I'm not necessarily gonna. I might stop if I figure out anything important. I'm only going to do the elevation and plan, probably. So this is a mechanical pencil. So I was using 2H, so it's 2 hardness pencil, and so this is just a HB lead, just so it make the lines darker, a bit easier for you to see, or a bit easier to see in the finished drawing. So using the using the 2H, I sometimes use I used to use a like 3 or a 4H, so I just went with 2 just to make it a bit easier for you guys to see. So I just use those for construction lines. Here I'm just measuring the distance to where the SD card begins. I need to be able to slide the pin I'm using into a kind of cavity here. As I said, I was going to come down 9, and so the length of the bolt is 17. So if we make the gap 18, it should fit in. So what I've decided to do is kind of convert this into more of like a section drawing, just because probably an isometric section would probably show it a little bit better, but this would be a cavity. So it's kind of taking a slice, looking that way. So if I kind of color in this would all be solid material. There would be a 6/4 inch hole all the way through. This would be open in here with a curved side, so that the nut would slip up and then can be screwed in that way. Get your Allen key in there to screw it in tight. There's a little lip here to help balance the positioning of the camera, as you can see there. It works if I just adjust that down. And then the mount part. So that quick and dirty sketch kind of shows all the parts. So now at a follow-up video I'll look to do maybe a open SCAD type of CAD model, and then we have access to a 3D printer in the TOG Hackerspace. I could try making up, do a 3D print, see, check if it's strong enough, and if it's not strong enough I could look at doing a resin casting. Okay, I think that's it for today. Thank you. Bye.